Thank you so much for joining me today, Sarah Lynn. How are you doing today?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
Doing all right. So you're currently on tour with Kimberly Akimbo. How has that journey been
Yes.
so far?
It has been a whirlwind. We're about 6 months into the tour now on the road, and it's like nothing I could have ever imagined. I always wanted to go on tour after I graduated from college, and now getting to do it is like it's unreal, really.
Especially with a show like this, Tony Award
Yeah.
winning. Everybody's talking about this show.
Yeah, and I feel really fortunate because for this to be my first national tour that I'm a part of, it being such a big one and such an amazing story, I feel really lucky.
So for those who maybe are a little unfamiliar with this musical, can you tell us a little bit about the story?
Yeah, so it takes place in New Jersey in 1999. On the front of the script, it says a time where teenagers didn't have cell phones, and I feel like that's, really really special just because it's a time where no one is affected by social media. Everything you see is like face-to-face interactions are like all that you get. So it's about Kimberly, who is about to turn 16 years old, and she's just moved to this town. She's a new kid in school. She doesn't really have a ton of friends, but she has this rare disease that makes her age rapidly. So while she's 15, almost 16 years old, she has the looks of someone who might be in her 60s or 70s. So she's played by three-time Tony nominee Carolee Carmello, which is
Huge.
absolutely incredible. It's to be a part of a cast with someone of that stature
Hmm.
is really it's really amazing. But yeah, so it's about Kimberly and her kind of navigating this disease that she has while also dealing with family drama and being a new kid at school and navigating potentially a first crush.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, it's very real life. It's very heart-wrenching and empowering. You watch Kimberly go from having this disease and potentially being near the end of her life and choosing to live it to the fullest.
Absolutely. Which is like this duality of like the tones are,
Yeah.
like, because I've heard it's like you laugh and you cry and you're kind of just
Yeah,
everything hurts.
it's very much like you feel a full range of emotions. You can be like laughing hysterically one scene and the next scene, you want to cry. Um, I feel like the themes of life and death in this musical are very prominent, but it's important to know that it's not sad. It's not a devastating story and you feel bad for Kimberly. You
Hmm.
actually love her and you want her to succeed and you feel really happy for her while also like dealing with her crazy family members. She has a crazy aunt who potentially gets her into maybe some trouble. But you really root for Kimberly and it's really uplifting and it's a very happy, funny musical that just happens to deal with some serious topics.
So, what is your role in this production, and how does it kind of factor into the narrative of Kimberly Akimbo?
So I'm an understudy for both Pattie and Debra. Pattie is Kimberly's mom and Debra is Kimberly's aunt and they're sisters. So I'm an offstage understudy, which means that I'm not in the musical every night, but I am backstage, but I cover both of those characters. So I am the only understudy for both Pattie and Debra, which means that at any given point, if one of them has to take a night off or have a
Mhm.
scheduled vacation, then I'll cover one of those two roles.
And what is it like to for like two of those roles? It sounds you kind of described like the aunt's a little bit of like a troublemaker, maybe not like a troublemaker, but causes some
Yeah,
stuff.
she's a felon for sure.
Yeah.
She's been to prison and she it has always has a scheme up her sleeve. Deborah is very cunning and intelligent and witty, and she's always looking how she can make the best of her situation.
Hmm.
But I think the important thing for Deborah is because it's very easy to dislike someone like that who only has their best interest at heart. But Deborah really loves Kimberly because she's her
Hmm.
aunt and that's Deborah's only niece. So as far as I know, Debra doesn't have any children, so that's really the only child that she cares for in her life, and she really does love Kim. So while she is looking out for her own best interest, she really wants Kim to have a good life and make her own life better. But Pattie, the mom, is Debra's sister, and Pattie's a bit different where Pattie got pregnant with Kim when she was in high school. And so that makes Pattie a pretty young mom, and she's kind of like still a kid and not really able to handle the seriousness and the depth of having a child with such an intense disease. So Pattie can be very narcissistic, and she often, to distract herself from her own child's disease, she kind of makes up things that she has issues with. She has carpal tunnel in both hands, so she gets surgery on both of her hands, and she is very self-centered, but it's all to distract herself from the fact that Kim is dealing with this real, very serious disease.
Do you have a different like process to getting into the mindset of those two? Because they're like very vastly different characters.
They're very different. So we have understudy rehearsal about once a week, and we started off by doing both roles at once, like in rehearsal, since I'm the only understudy for both. But I've really had to really focus on one or the other if I'm gonna like put my full attention into one character, because yeah, it's really difficult to give my heart and being like singing Debra's big song Better, which is all about, you know, taking bad circumstances that you have and making your life better. And then on the flip side, sing Pattie's big song Father Time, which is very the words are escaping me. Father Time is very like solemn, and it's a prayer really to a higher power to give her more time with Kim. So yes, very different approaches to those two characters. I feel like I'm rambling a little bit. Sorry.
No, you're totally okay. I appreciate those wonderful answers. So, how has your time on this production challenged you? And also, I just want to say congratulations on this being, like you said, your first national tour. That's like, so exciting.
Thank you. Yes.
So, how do you feel like it's challenged you as an actor to be on this production of Kimberly Akimbo?
I mean, I feel like every day is a new challenge. This is my first time being on tour, so this is my first extended time being away from my home in New York. I'm really lucky that I have a great support system back in New York. My fiance and our 3 cats and my family all supports me. But so just the constant traveling and being on the road every week, flying to a new city and sleeping in a new time zone, that can be very challenging. And so that's one big challenge. As an actor, learning 2 very different roles and having them both in my brain 100% of the time has definitely been a challenge. But I feel like I'm being pushed as an actor, and my skills and my talents are being not tested, but I feel like I'm really putting my skills, you know, to the limit. Especially being able to flip flop back and forth, where for Pattie, I feel like physically on stage, Pattie is a little more still. She sits on the couch a lot. She talks to a recording camera a lot. But internally, there's so much going on because she has this, her child has this disease. And so as an actor, working on Pattie is such a challenge emotionally. On the flip side, Debra is very physical. She's all over the stage, and she's like running around and dancing. And so like keeping up like my stamina when working on Debra versus having to be very still and internalize a lot of things when I'm Pattie. That's a big challenge for sure.
It sounds like one has a lot of physicality. Another one is it's difficult because you're kind of stagnant.
Yes, definitely. And I feel like with Debra, a lot of Debra's mannerisms being loud and being kind of taking charge of the room and bringing a lot of energy, I feel like for me, that comes a little bit more naturally, whereas being still and being quiet and having these intense thoughts and um, not that that doesn't also come naturally, but it's just a challenge. And to be able to do both within the same show, you really have to like compartmentalize your brain.
They're like it's powerful on two different ends of the spectrum, you know.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, absolutely.
so what has been maybe like a standout moment for you on this national tour?
Man, I mean, there have been a lot. I feel like that's such a cop out answer. There are a
No,
lot of standout moments, but um, I mean, definitely when I got to play my hometown on tour, I got
that'd
to
be
go
exciting.
on as Debra in my hometown, and my whole family got to be there. And I had the bishop that baptized me was there, like everyone was there. That was a really, really standout moment, just being able to come back and perform on a stage that I had seen national tours come through as a teenager, to now be part of one and be on stage. And um, everyone that supported me in my life being able to come and see me and see that, you know, their support was was definitely used and it manifested into a great career that I'm beginning to have.
Is that nerve wracking at all? Because I feel like, you know, I'm not an actor at all. You know, I'm a
Mhm.
psychologist by day. So like the idea of like performing in front of everybody who's known me in my entire life feels terrifying.
It it was, but I think that it would have been more terrifying if it was the first time I went on.
Hmm.
You know, I had the benefit of having a couple of performances before that point. I had been on for Deborah a couple of times, so it wasn't my first time doing it. It was definitely a little bit nerve wracking, but honestly, I've come to a place in my, you know, self worth where I feel really confident in myself. And it really was just like I felt full of love and joy to be able to share what I worked so hard to
Hmm.
accomplish with everyone. Um, and it was amazing to like come out the stage door and there's like 40 people there just for me. And I'm like hugging my third grade teacher. It was wild.
What a great
But
feeling, though.
yeah, it was amazing. It was very validating. And um you know, of course I got nervous and I got the jitters and I'm like, oh my god, everyone is here. But there's nothing quite like being on stage and you can hear your brother's laughter and you can hear your mom cheering for you and you can hear those different voices, and it's just like all these people love me and support me and they want to see me succeed, and now they are seeing me succeed.
Absolutely. Like that's kind of the dream of
Yeah.
getting to be up there on stage.
Yeah.
So with this show, you have some like the writing team and the music making team of this show is incredible. You know, we have
Yeah.
names like uh I hope I don't butcher this.
Janine
Janine,
Tesori.
okay. Yeah, who did
Yeah.
Shrek the Musical and Fun Home, like
Yes.
these really big shows. How do you feel like the music enhances the story of Kimberly Akimbo?
Oh my God. I mean, first of all, Janine Tesori is like musical genius. Like getting to work with her one on one was such an incredible experience. I actually was like crying and she like had to stop the rehearsal and she was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "I've never been better. This is incredible." I mean, it's the stuff of dreams, really. Yeah, Kimberly Akimbo originally was a play written by
Oh,
David Lindsay Abaire, and
yes.
I believe it debuted in 1999. Fact check me, I'm sorry.
I think that is
Um,
correct.
yeah, and
Oh,
so I
2001, sorry.
okay, 2001. Yeah, I was wrong. Um,
Close.
but um, and I've actually read the script for the play of Kimberly Akimbo, and having it become a musical, you know, there are some moments in the play that have been direct translations to the musical, like some scenes are direct translations. There are some song lyrics that come directly from the play too. But I feel like the musical storytelling is so powerful within Kimberly Akimbo. I feel like the intention of the different instruments, like for example, the final song called Great Adventure,
Hmm.
it begins with a very simple ukulele, which is so sweet and innocent and
Hmm.
hopeful. And it leads to this lovely group number where everyone sings about how we're on a great adventure and no one gets a second time around. And it's so powerful and yet so simple with the instrumentation and the orchestrations. And um, yeah, it's very powerful.
Something like you don't usually see a lot of like ukulele is you don't see that on a lot of shows. You know what I mean? So like to
Right.
have that moment like kind of defines the big closing number.
Right. And I feel like one of Tessori's previous musicals, Fun Home, is similar in that way too. The final song of that show is also a little bit smaller. It's not grand. Like when you think of a big musical like The Music Man, it's like
Yeah.
a large 100 instruments, and I'm exaggerating, of course, but like there's a lot going on, and I
Hmm.
feel like with Kimberly Akimbo and some of Janine Tesori's other musicals, the finale is just like smaller and intimate and just gets your feels going, you know?
Hmm. I was gonna say this season we got to see Shrek the musical at the beginning of
Yeah.
the season,
Hmm.
um, and then I recently saw a local production of Fun Home. And
Yeah.
when I was doing my research for this interview, and when I saw those names were attached to Janine's,
Yeah.
Tesori's like list, I was like, that makes sense. There's
Yeah.
like you could see the musicality kind of follow through,
Yeah.
it made me even more excited for Kimberly Akimbo.
Yeah. Kimberly is such a good show. And the music, some of the songs are so catchy. You will all be
Mhm.
singing them to each other backstage. One of the things that I love about the show is that because I'm an offstage understudy, I'm at the theater every night listening to the show.
Mhm.
Sometimes we watch the show. We always try to support our fellow understudies and standbys when they go on. So we'll sneak into the back of the orchestra or the balcony and watch them. But we have heard the show a lot.
Sure.
But I think that with a show like Kimberly Akimbo, it's such a good show. It's
Mhm.
very easy to listen to, and um, I definitely don't get bored of it. I feel like I'm still learning like new things about each of the characters every time, and our cast is so incredible. Everyone's performance in their roles is really moving and funny and complex, and I really, really love this musical. It's very special to me.
What themes of this show do you feel like resonate the most with you?
Oh man. I mean, for the roles that I cover, for Deborah especially, taking, unfortunate or less than desired circumstances in your life and having them work to your advantage is definitely a really powerful theme. Deborah has this incredible line in her song Better, and it says, "When life gives you lemons, go out and steal some apples, because who the fuck wants lemons?" And it's so good and
Ugh.
it's so funny, but it's really like you don't have to accept bad circumstances that you've been given. You have complete autonomy of yourself and you can do what you want to do. Now I'm not endorsing stealing. I'm not
No.
endorsing felony behavior, but I think the sentiment about it is that you don't have to just accept, negative things. You can choose what kind of life you're going to have.
And that is a powerful message when you think of what the show kind of stands for, of like
Yeah, it
life is
it
short.
really is. Life is short. Like steal some apples if you don't want lemons.
um I hope you don't mind me asking, because
Sure.
as a therapist, I always just am interested in how you, as like an actor who is on a tour, how do you prioritize your mental health while you're on the road?
Whew. I sleep a lot.
Important.
Yes. I feel like it's very easy because we're traveling constantly and the show is quite small. There's only 15 actors with the
Mhm.
show. There's only 9 roles in the musical, and then with all of the understudies and standbys there's 15 of us total.
Okay.
And then we have a relatively small band. So I think there's less than 10 members in our band, and then our traveling crew. So there's about 30 people traveling on tour with our crew, band, and management and actors. It's very easy to say, oh, let's go out to this arcade. Oh, let's go see a movie. Oh, let's go. And everyone wants to do something because we're in a new city every week. So learning when to say, no, I'm gonna go home tonight. I'm gonna go to bed. I'll do something with you next week. Being able to, have those boundaries, because we are together all the time. And everyone on this tour, I'm really lucky, is so nice, and everyone is friendly, and everyone, like, I feel like we get along really well. So it's very easy to just be like, yeah, let's keep hanging out. It's 2 a.m. Who cares? But it's like, no, we have 2 shows tomorrow and 2 shows the day after that. So let's all go to bed, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's definitely been like a priority for me. It's just making sure I get adequate rest, because especially if, I get the call to go on the next day, I don't want to be not well rested, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. You want to be at the height of your game, and sleep is important for that,
Yes.
One final question for you is just, what are you hoping audiences take away from Kimberly Akimbo?
Oh man. I want them to take away a lot, but one thing is I guess bringing back to the message of Deborah's, like, don't accept the bad circumstances that you have in your life. Like, I want audience members to feel empowered to make themselves really the main character of their own story. The final song not the final song, but the second to final song in Kimberly Akimbo is called Before I Go. And it's a very powerful moment between Kim and her parents. And it's about Kim having this really difficult conversation with her parents, of kind of her blossoming into her own, while also saying thank you for, the life that you've provided for me, and now I'm going to pursue my life on my own, basically. And I feel like that song is really powerful with a lot of audience members. My mom particularly, she says it makes her cry every time. But really, if there was one message I would want people to take away, is just really, like, be the main character in your own story, because you only get one time around,
I love that. Thank you so much, Sarah Lynn, for your time. I really appreciate talking with you.
It is all my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Kimberly Akimbo will arrive at the Fisher Theater on March 11th and run through the 23rd, so get your tickets at Broadway in Detroit's website.